Dawson is supposed to practice full tonight. He's had a couple of doing some of the stuff, but he's supposed to practice, I should say, 90% full tonight. And the good news is when we play this weekend, it's March. And, my battle cry to my team has been we've had the week off, chance to improve on ourselves a little bit. We spent 2 days working on nothing except Michigan State. Um, all they've been through, I think it's time to start looking forward, and that's hard to do when you come off a tough loss, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to concentrate on now what we can control, and that's about it. It'll be as together as we've been probably since December, I don't know, second, third. I mean, even Harris was hurt back then, so after the fourth, we didn't have Costello even the first or second. So it's been a long time, and even though Dawson's been limited in practice, at least we've had some time to work on some of our sets and some of our timing issues that is so hard, and that's what's probably going to take the most time. But the bye week does give us this opportunity to really kind of freshen up on us and sharpen up our things. I think if I looked at what do we got to improve the most on, playing together would be one thing, and that you think of that as offensive, but defensively we have not been as good. And I think part of the reason is because, we just keep, changing those lineups, and the hardest thing has been our ball screen defense. I don't think it's been very good, and I think that's too because we're trying to adjust to different players and different people. As far as Illinois goes, they've won 2 in a row now. They changed their lineup 4 or 5 games ago, added a couple, one freshman for sure, and he's been averaging 13 a game. A kid named Nunn, who we recruited a little bit out of Simeon, and he's a very, very good player. Can shoot threes, athletic as anybody I think they've got on their team. They've also improved defensively, especially in points allowed. They're not giving up under 50 in those last 3 games. So defensively, they've gotten better, and I think that's what's helped them win games. We beat them down there early in the year. They're a different team. We're a different team, and I'm looking forward to getting everybody back. But I would say this on Dawson before you ask questions. He's going to play with a little bit of a brace on. That doesn't seem like it affects a lot of things, but it still is there. How much I play him, I have no clue. I might know a little bit more after today and tomorrow. But like Morris Peterson, he's going to have to defend and rebound to play because it's not like he can't shoot, but that's never been one of the strengths, and it's not something that I think will come back immediately. As we've learned with Appling, it's a process that's a 2-3 week. I will say this: last couple of days he shot the ball at least better than he was shooting it. So there's some encouragement in that improvement, and that's what I'm hoping for Dawson as time goes on. Questions? Awesome.
As Brandon Dawson comes back, with Denzel Valentine, does he go to the bench, or do you think the 4 with Dawson more? Are you still waiting?
The difference with Dawson than it was with Payne and with Appling. I mean, Appling missed roughly 3 weeks, and it's easy to bring him back. Payne missed this not quite as long as Dawson. He missed about 30 days, but it was also earlier in the year, so you had more time. That's the part I really got to take a look at. How much changes my group? How much can I just work them in? Do I just keep him as a sub or not? But it's doubtful that I'll change the 3 perimeter guys right now. That's not in my plan. Whether I play BJ and AP will play together some, and it'll also give us, I think, some great benefits defensively when we play against bigger guards and we need somebody to defend. I think Dawson's minutes, I think, will go up each game. If he does start, it wouldn't be early. just see. But I don't plan on changing Valentine.
Have you been able to gauge how Dawson's fitness is?
No, I haven't. I know he worked extremely hard, harder than the other two guys, because Keith was just out, even though it was a wrist. We didn't know how long it would be, so he didn't do the grinding things. AP just couldn't do a lot because of the foot. Dawson, we had actually had him doing things on court. Mike Borkopich had him doing basketball stuff because it didn't affect his hand. So wherever he is, he's a lot better than the other two will be. It was hard to tell because he was in and out of some drills and didn't do a lot of live stuff. And maybe we'll see a little bit more tonight. But it's going to be nowhere. When I say it's going to be a lot better, I think it will be better. But it's not going to be right away. I mean, there's going to be some adjustments to be made when you're out for, I don't know, 36, 7 days, whatever it's been.
Tom, with Keith, has the break helped him at all physically, but also, do you see him mentally when he's playing out there? He mentioned to us it's still in his head about playing with that wrist. Do you see that as being as big of an issue as maybe?
I don't think the pain of the wrist being as big an issue. I think the disappointment in not being able to shoot in that. He's not going through excruciating pain by any means. Do I think he's thinking if I fall on it again? I don't know. Everything changes when you're having such an incredible year that he was having, and then it gets pulled out from under him. There's so many emotions that go through your head, but he is still one of the toughest kids I got mentally and physically, and I don't see that bother him as much as he wants to be able to have everything back already, and that's been a process. You guys could see it last week. He was a shadow of what he was, especially the way he was playing early before he got injured, and I think right now he made big improvements in the last 2 days. I just think he feels better. He actually smiled twice, and it's been really hard on him, to be fair. He's been, trying to put the past beside, and that's what we're trying to do this week, Yeah, it's been an incredible couple of months, but, there's nothing we can do about it. It's move forward now, and we've got time to move forward. It's not going to come in one game or 2 games, but I think we've got time to move forward, and that's kind of where he feels. If he can really play well this next week, I think it'll not only give him some confidence, but I think AP, who's still battling the conditioning part, and BJ, I think it'll give him a little more light on the fact that it is a process. He is practicing way better than he did 2 weeks ago or even last week, but nowhere near where he was because he was playing at a player of the year caliber, to be honest with you.
Tom, I know you're big on calling other coaches and looking at other examples. Have you found examples of teams that have dealt with something, even if it's in a different sport? Have you looked for stuff like that? Have you talked to anyone who's given you any advice?
I haven't called my normal football friends because football is such a different animal with 11 guys on each side, 1 or 2 missing. Like Mark D'Antonio said yesterday to me, when you're missing 3 guys at one time, 2 for sure, almost every game we played in the Big Ten, it'd be like 7 in football. So haven't done that, but I kind of tried to call Paul Rivers yesterday, my former video guy who's now with the Oklahoma City, because I thought it was interesting when Westbrook came back. I think they've lost 2 or 3 in a row since he's been back, and they all home games, and they were 28-4 or 5 without him, which just kind of tells you it's not just the player, and he's a phenomenal player. It's getting everybody back in sync, and so I have not found anybody. Matt did some research nationally on our top 25 teams and who's missed games, who's had injuries. Injuries for the year are almost easier. Dawson's injury was easier to deal with than Payne and Appling and Costello and Trice, because remember how many times I said, well, we're day to day, and then I changed it to week because I had no idea. At least with Dawson, we knew for 4.5 weeks he's out. And that was almost easier to deal with. So nobody has had to deal with, I think there was one school that dealt with 3 injuries, and nobody for any length of time. And we've had 6 of our top 7. So that is, it's kind of like untouched territory. And instead of being able to call someone and ask for help, I got to just grin and bear it and figure out how to deal with it ourselves. And I think the more I talked about it, I was not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to deal with reality a little bit myself because I've never been through it. But now we're just moving forward. No more. We're not going to talk about the injuries. I know where I think how long it'll take to come back. But I don't totally know because with each player it's different too. With Dawson it'll be different than it was with Appling, and you got fooled a little bit with Payne playing on adrenaline for a couple games, and then reality set in, and we all know how tired. But he's practiced a little better this week too, where we really tried to. I mean, we had some tough practices the last 2 days to try to not only build some of that, but push guys through some of those things that have been injured. And I think it's helped. I really do.
With the, I know you missed Gary Harris back in September and October for a little bit. So with the amount of time you've actually had,
December. I think Gary missed 60 days.
but even before the season, like summer workouts, and how many times these guys have actually been together? Do you have a sense in your head how much time you need to put together a group to have them the way you want them?
I don't, because I never did it. Now, this summer, we had one of our best summers. We had no injuries until Gary got hurt at the last, I think it was in September, because it was before a football game. Okay. So we had none. I mean, we had the best summer we ever had. That's the irony of this whole thing. But because I've never been through it with this many numbers of guys, you keep looking at it and you say, why is our ball screen defense not as good? Or, why are certain guys that played better defense last year not playing as good? And, I mean, they all kind of fit together. And what I'm hoping for is this, good week of practice. Hopefully we'll play well in the game. Then we got another 4 days. It's a weird scheduling thing here. And then if we can keep ourselves so that we don't play till Friday, we'll have another 4 days after the last. So for once in my life, the scheduling, I think, works to our advantage as far as getting guys more reps, more playing time together, more practice time together. But then I got to make some tough decisions too. So who that was in my playing group is not going to be in it right now, and how do you make people earn it? And it's been interesting, but I think very doable, very doable. I think now we'll have Payne, Harris, Valentine, Trice that will have a month under their belt pretty soon. Then we have Keith, who I think made big progress so far this week. We'll see when a game comes, but I do think he's made some significant improvement. And, and then with Brandon, it's going to take a while, there's no question about it, but he will be able to do some spot things that I think back of some of these games we lost by a couple of points, and could he defend, could he grab a big rebound? There's no question he can do that. And so I see it, if we get everybody back playing somewhat like they were, I think this team can make some serious noise here in the next 3 weeks. And how fast? I mean, we know it's not going to be 1 week, but if it's 2 or 3 weeks, we're in trouble the other way, So we've got some timeline pressures on us. There's no question about it. But thank God some of them are veterans, juniors and seniors, and hopefully we can mix it back up with our younger kids. I think it's hurt Gary's shooting a little bit. I think it's hurt his defense a little bit. whether we go back to switching like we did and all that, those are tough decisions I got to make sometime probably next week. I won't do it this week because I have no idea how much Brandon can play yet.
Tom, you have a unique perspective because you were a student athlete and you're at the top of your profession as a coach now. There's a movement at Northwestern, players trying to unionize, and I know you're not going to give us an answer what you think, but I'm just saying in general, do you think change is in the air and something's going to have to happen to the paradigm? Not saying you're endorsing what they want to do, just the paradigm itself.
You know, you're right, and I politically wouldn't answer it totally, but mostly because I don't know the whole situation. I mean, I'm a little nervous as a parent, because I think I'm going to come home and there's going to be a union rep on my steps, and my son is going to demand that he gets to stay up till 9:30 and not 9 o'clock, and he gets his phone until 9 o'clock, not 8 o'clock, and I'm a little nervous about stuff like that. I mean, where does it end? But I know nothing about that. Thing came out of the blue to me, I mean, it really did. I mean, so I just don't know enough about it. The comment is change in the air. I think we all got to make sure the grass is always greener, right? It's greener for me if I go to Cleveland. It's greener for somebody else if he takes the Texas job. It's, the grass is always greener. It's greener for you. It's greener for me. And 99% of the time, when we get there, the grass isn't greener. It's the same damn grass, So I think we better be careful on there's just, everybody has such a voice now because of my favorite thing that I'm not going to talk about from now to the end of the season, but they have such a voice that it worries me that how much of this is a couple of voices that all of a sudden it explodes, how much of it is reality. I don't know what's right and wrong. I mean, I'm all for players, working conditions, treated properly. But, yelling at a guy doesn't mean he's not treated right, or demanding that he does something. Our country's been, that's how we've grown. That's who we are, and not knowing everything he's talking about in that particular suit or whatever it is. More money, I've been in favor of the cost of attendance. I've been in favor of that, and making sure we take care of kids as best we can. But I will say this: everybody thinks because where I live, and I don't know if it's how I am, but because of a couple of material things, you're rich. I was dirt poor like 90% of these guys. Okay? It wasn't all bad. It made for a better Tom Izzo, I think, that I went through that period. And I worry that this day and age, having nothing to do with that, having to do with everything else, there's nothing wrong with failing. There's nothing wrong with grinding it. There's nothing wrong with paying your dues and paying the price to be great. There is nothing wrong with it. It is good. I hate the trophy world. Okay? I don't like it. I'm glad I wasn't raised in it. I struggle to raise my kids so they're not in it. It's harder. But I wish when the year's over and I read up on it, or I look up on it, or I hear from you guys a little bit, I just have no idea, Hondo, what they're really looking for in this, except for players to have more rights, more authority, more whatever, So, I mean, if it comes to the point where I got to call my players and ask them if I can practice on Saturdays, I'd do it, I mean, I'll do whatever we got to do, but I think we better make sure we understand that there's a lot of good things that have come from my favorite people in my life were the biggest jerks. were the people that treated me the harshest. You know, whether it be my dad, my uncle, my grandfather at work, whether it be my high school coaches in all sports, the teachers that, you know, took a paddle to you or hit you over the head with a book, you know. That was all good, man. You know, I'm for it. Okay, I don't do it anymore. It's you know, but it didn't work so bad for me. And I know a lot of other guys it didn't work so bad for. So we keep talking about changes. I don't know. I think we had a better world when there was more discipline. So I don't know what that does for that, but I'm just giving you my own. And what the hell are we talking about that for anyway? So let's go on. I know you guys got me off Twitter. Now, Hondo, you got me on this. So now I got to decide how to raise my damn kid, whether he gets his phone at 8 or 9.